Hello, my name is Ray Goulet, and I would like to welcome you to the New England Mini Museum of Magic. You're viewing now the window of Le Grand David. This show is held in Beverly, Massachusetts. It's the longest resident magic show in the history of magic. It has been going for the last 25 years. Now I'd like to call your attention to the Bremer, or Bremer as some pronounce it, manufacturing company who produced all of the items that you're seeing in this case. These are all brass, and they were the finest fabricators of metal in the early 1900s. You're now viewing several of the posters of many hundreds of posters that we do have in the museum. And now you're viewing some of the items that were used in the 1800s and 1900s. Over here you're looking at some very fine weaponry that was used not to kill, but to excite and entertain people. Next item you'll see on the boards is swords that were used to vanish handkerchiefs, make them appear. And here, of course, are slates and Chinese sticks, which was one of the old tricks in magic. Personalized playing cards. Some of them were made just for the magician himself. Over here, secret devices that were used in magic. The next item you'll view is a large collection of magic wands. But these aren't just ordinary wands, these all did tricks. Now you're looking in the showcase at some very famous magician's pieces. This was Harry Keller, a famous magician in the 1800s who had a little die box when he was a boy, and that belonged to him. And down below you'll see Harlem Tabell's card rise goblet with the cards that he used for the cards to rise out. Harry Blackstone Sr.'s perennial bouquet. And then there are many, many more pieces in here that belong to great magicians of the past. Okay, you're seeing many, many more pieces. For instance, the Chinese checker cabinets made by Sherm's Company, by Paul Fox, by Henshin. There's a Rudy poster that you're viewing at this point, and Shooting Through a Woman, very famous illusion of the past. The exhibit you're viewing now was from a manufacturer named Petrie & Lewis out of New Haven, Connecticut. They were one of the great metal fabricators of the past, and you're viewing some of their pieces which they themselves have never seen all at the same time. This is the largest collection in the world of Petrie & Lewis manufacturing and Misto. Well, we're now in the area where Houdini is gathered. You'll see many pieces, posters, handcuffs, costumes, straitjackets, all original. And now we're viewing a section of the museum that's sort of my favorite, and that is the gambling equipment. Some of it is legitimate and some of it is illegitimate. We have here a cheating device that was used in the 1800s and early 1900s. I'm sure you wouldn't use it today because probably you would lose your arm. But it's one of these devices that's up your sleeve and it would shoot cards into your hand. We're now in the die box area of the museum, which houses approximately 100 die boxes. Most of you people who are viewing this know what a die box is. And you also know that they went from using regular dies to Oriental dies, to Rubik's Cube dies, and to using a clock instead of a die. Now I have a unique die box here, which there are only 12 made in England. And you know, you're all familiar with the die box, so I don't have to explain it. The die is placed into the box in this fashion, and you do a little byplay. This is called fooling the audience, or you think you're fooling them. They say, oh no, you just moved it. It's gone from here. Wait a minute, oh, you want to see that side? No, it's gone from there too. Let me do that again so you won't understand it. It's gone from here, it's gone from, oh no, it isn't gone. Oh, I'm sorry, hey, we'll do it again. And then you're here, and it shows that it's back there. Now finally you do this again and say, you know what, I've worked so hard for this thing, it calls for a drink. And now, folks, I would like you to sit back, relax, and enjoy some more views of the museum with the wave of the wand. What would a museum be without a magic shop? And we do have one, the Magic Art Studio, right next door. The 4 aces, this is the easy way to find them. If I just give them simple cut like that, there's the first one. If I turn these over, there's the second one. If I do this, there's the third one. And you know what? I take no chances. I always end up with the 4.
All right. That's great. Okay.
The 4 aces, 1, 2, 3, 4. They just go in there like that. You do this little twist of the action here, and there's the 4 aces once more. You get that? I guess not. Okay, I'm going to push them in here like this and just push them in slowly like that. Watch. If I do this, you weren't paying attention to the 4 aces over there.
That's great.
All right, I'm going to ask you to take one card out and look at it.
Okay.
Show it to your friends if you have any.
Got it.
Okay. Place the card right back here. I'm going to do something that we normally don't do in the world of magic. And that's I'm going to take half the deck face up and half face down. We're going to shuffle them in here like this. So some cards will be face up and some will be face down. These are face up. These are face down. You know, some of these will even be back to back. By the way, that's not your card, is it?
No, it's not.
I didn't think so. Would you wave your hand over and cast that spell? Did you see it happen?
I don't think so.
What was the name of your card?
5 of hearts. Whoa. There it is. Wow.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Okay.
Can't beat that.
All right. A card trick. Not an ordinary card trick, but a card trick. First of all, let me call your attention to the cards that I'm going to use. They're number cards. They're like alphabet cards. They were used with children. However, normally this card trick would be done with an ordinary deck of playing cards. You would walk out amongst the audience and have 5 spectators select 5 different playing cards. Placing them back in the deck, the cards would be shuffled, thusly. And then, again, I want to call your attention over here to this odd-looking, queer-working piece of paraphernalia, which is called a star. And the object here is to watch very closely. Are you watching? Watch very closely now. Go! A card trick. Let me introduce a gentleman that will help me out in this. John. You have a last name?
Bach.
John Bach. Okay, John, we're going to have you select a card. First, let me show the people that the cards are all different. They're easy to tell apart that way. I want you to just say stop at any time. Oh, go ahead.
Stop right about there.
Here, we'll point to a card, any one of them. You sure you want to use that one?
Yes.
I want you to remember that card. Does everybody see the card? Good. We're going to place the cards over here in front. And you notice I have a web here? Well, I also have a spider. Wherever there's a web, there's a spider. And sometimes he likes to spin his web a little stronger, especially when he's looking for his food. Your card will be his food. Watch. The 4 of spades.
That's my card. That's great.
A healthy appetite. Well, it started 25 years ago. Before that, I was a performer and never thought of collecting. And then I met a gentleman named Chet Cockett in Connecticut, Shelton, Connecticut. And I went into his room with all these shelves with antiquarian magic, and that really got me intrigued in the collecting world. And that's really how I started. Well, most collectors are usually people with a lot of money, as a rule, that have amassed a big collection. I made a good living, but I wasn't what you call wealthy. But I never thought of it that way to begin with. I thought of collecting as fun. So I never bought a collection. And the reason I didn't buy a collection is that I never would take and mortgage my home or put myself in debt to buy a collection. So I bought everything individually or piecemeal, 4 or 5 items at a time. I collect in all veins when it comes to that. I collect in the advertising end of it, the book end of it. In the apparatus end, I collect both the manufacturer and both if it was owned by another time, if it's owned by a great magician. So, but my favorite are when they're personal pieces, pieces that belong to magicians, like Houdini, Blackstone, Calvert, Keller, Slidini, Silent Mora, on and on. It just goes on. There's no end. And that's my favorite because it had a personal touch. It gives you some kind of a feeling that this was done on stage and performed many, many times. There's conversation, preserving magic is very important because there would be no magic today in the real sense of the word. Most everything that they're doing today is just a takeoff on what was done in the past. There's very little new in magic except a little dressing and a little designing and disguising it to make it look new. Really, in all reality, there's only certain basics, like in anything we do in life, and that's the reason why magic is very important to preserve. There's plenty of people out there manufacturing some very fine magic, like Owen Brothers, like John Gone. There's so many of them out there that sell some very good quality magic. If you can afford it, it's fine. But if you can't, there's items today, like Tenyo's in Japan, has been manufacturing items for $10, $15, $25. Now all of a sudden, there's a big kick on collecting Tenyo. So it's not that old. I mean, these become collectible pieces. Not antiques, but collectible. To answer you in asking me what my favorite piece is in magic is almost impossible for me to answer. I name a few. Well, I would say the checker cabinet. The Okido checker cabinet is one of my favorites. And I do have a statue by John Rogers. That's the traveling magician. When I started collecting in the 70s, collecting was easier because items were a lot cheaper. Example, an item in those days for, we'll say, $50. It may be $400 or $500 today. Posters, for instance. I remember looking at a Chung-Ling Soo poster. This is a gentleman who disguised himself as a Chinese performer who really was an American named William Robinson. And his posters were selling for $375 when I used to go to the collectors' conventions. They now sell for $10,000. I would love to find a home for it when I'm gone. It would be nice to keep it all intact. However, I don't know if that's going to be feasible. If we can't do that, our plans are to bring it to a legitimate auction home, have them sell it so that all the magicians have a chance to buy a piece here and there. The Magic Museum also has a very extensive library, well over 10,000 volumes. I hope you've enjoyed the tour through our museum. If you're ever in the Boston area, please come and see us. Thank you.